Hello, beautiful, beautiful souls. It has been a long time since I have gone live. Let's go ahead and just close our eyes. And if that feels safe to do, of course. If you're just listening, we're just going to do a few deep breaths. Just allowing ourselves to become present in our body, become present within this moment. So take a nice cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. In. Hold it at the top. And out. In. And out. One more. Breathe in. Hold at the top. Breathe out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. My name is Kelsey Grace Hall. You can call me Grace. And I had this calling, this inspiration, this pull to come live on YouTube. And this is my first live, and I don't even know when the last time I went live on YouTube was, but it's been a minute. So hello. I've also, I haven't been on social media for several months, and I didn't feel called to go to Facebook or Instagram. I just kept feeling YouTube. And so I've been getting these little nudges from spirit, from my heart, to start speaking more and to start sharing more. And I got a podcast downloaded in my dream the other day. And so I've been in the works of that, and it's called God Winks. And so I'm feeling called today to come on YouTube and just start sharing some amazing realizations, to share some of the experiences that I've been going through, to share what's birthing into what I'm calling God Winks. And I just want to, first of all, take one giant deep breath in. And next time, that was more for me than it was for you, because it has been a long time since I've gone live. And I just feel like there's this desire in this space to speak authentically, vulnerably, and to speak into my own human experience, and to speak into my journey in the last few months, whether someone sees it, someone doesn't, but my whole intention is that whoever does see this, it's meant for you. That there's something inside of this conversation, inside of this live, that has drawn you to watch it. And if you are here and you are right here with me, then stay tuned. You are here for a reason, and for whatever it is, it will either land, you'll feel it, it'll struck your heart, it'll struck your soul, it'll struck your body, you'll feel it. I know that's when the divine intervention comes in. And with that being said, whether you're new here, let me know. If you've been part of my world, let me know. I've been in this incredible emptying process for the last, October, since July. And it has been life-changing. And to say the least, before I started emptying myself, I was a healer. I was a spiritual life coach, an energy worker, spiritual mentor, business mentor, all of it, all of it. I wore many hats. I've been in the shamanic world and doing processes in that way, as I had a shamanic initiation last year. So I don't call myself a shaman. I think that word is overused and oversaturated in many ways and not really honored in the way that it is in our culture. But I've been going through a lot of pretty intense experiences over the last couple of years through that initiation. And with that being said, when I came to this point a few months ago, I had been struggling all year. And it had been just this pull of this mud and just like living in survival and doing all the things, healing, doing the inner work, showing up to the calls, showing up to my feelings, feeling my feelings, and just doing what I could to keep my business afloat. But I could feel that it was dying. And I knew that I had to go through its own rebirth. And so I honored it. And then in the rebirth, it was like, it still didn't feel quite right. And it still felt like something wasn't what it just wasn't there. And I was still facing some deep emotions inside of me. And I was really working through some depression and going through this cycle again. And I had been through this very similar cycle in 2023. And it felt very similar. And I was like, man, if I'm going to go through this every 2 years, like, WTF, God, like, what? I am not down to go through this every 2 years. So what gives? And at one point, something happened inside of my business, and it just was so heartbreaking and so painful for me that I was like, this is not worth my mental health anymore. And I decided, and I was in the deepest pain of my grief. I had poured my heart and soul into someone that I've been working with for 9 months, and she had extraordinary results, and we got along really well. And being that I was not in the best, highest version of myself, I had things that slipped through the cracks. And unfortunately, she ghosted me. And even though there was no conversation, and it just cracked my heart wide open, I was so sad and so heartbroken that for 9 months we spent all this time together, and yet just ripped my heart open. And everything happens for a reason. I still love this person so dearly. We have not talked to this day, and that's okay. There's no, it was the greatest gift that I could have had happen to me, because in that depth of my pain, I said, it's time to put my business down. And then all of a sudden, I felt this massive opening in my body. And I was like, whoa. What is that? It was relief. And I was like, whoa. The next day, no depression, no suicidal ideations, and more life force, more energy. It was like the little girl and the woman showed up. It was like I could be my expression. I was dancing, I was singing, I was free. And I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta put down my business. I am free. I didn't realize that the thing that I was chasing to create, that I was running after, that I put my entire soul and life into, that I was growing and working through and trying to hold and trying to sustain, the thing that I thought was going to be my path to freedom, my path to contribution, my path that I thought God was going to work through me to create, was actually the thing that was suffocating me. I've never felt such transformation like that. And it came from one single decision of deciding to put down the thing that I thought was my thing. And I said, okay, I surrender. I surrender in giving it all up. And that's when I decided to also give up going on social media. And I've been posting every single day since 2018. every single day. And I said, I'm just going to put it all down. I'm going to let myself become completely emptied in who I used to be, because who I used to be is trying to die. And so I got off social media and I started melting into the deepest form of surrender with God that I've ever experienced. I've never experienced such bliss, such joy, such expansion, such trust, such abundance. And I was just surrendering, and I let go of trying to control my reality. I stopped trying to control my business. I stopped trying to build my business. I stopped trying to grow. I was like, all I'm going to focus on is actually sitting within this presence called nothing. I sat within the void of nothingness. I knew I've already had receiving this all year, and actually for years, that I needed to sit in stillness. And I already knew that and I felt that, but I couldn't do that holding this business that I was still operating so many traumatic imprints in. And because I was still operating so many of my traumatic imprints in my business, I was leaking out so much energy in my nervous system, trying to hold an environment that was playing out these things that were suffocating my soul. So it wasn't my business or the people, it was that I was still playing out things from my childhood, traumatic things from my childhood in my business. That's why I had depression. That's why I had clients leave. That's why money would come and go. That's why it just felt so heavy and yucky and needed to die, and like all of these things and so many things. I mean, I can go into that's a whole nother conversation for another time. It's like now I understand how business works at a whole nother level of like why business fails. Because of my failure in my business, I now know what I'm doing right now is I'm clearing out all of that stuff. So the next creation that I make, it's going to be on a whole different frequency, because I'm not going to be operating out of these traumatic imprints that have been playing out. And I wouldn't have been able to see those if I didn't put it all down. And so I share that with you because we're so attached to everything in our life. We're so attached to the things and the visions and the expectations and the purpose and the giving and the contribution and the doing that we lose sight of who we are. And so I stopped doing and started being. And let me tell you, it has been the juiciest, the most incredible, most loving, most godly, most freeing months of my life. To actually learn what it means to be. To not be in this process of needing to prove myself, needing to build a business, not needing to hold other people. For the first time, I held myself. I got really good at holding other people. I am an excellent caretaker. I am an excellent rescuer. I'm an excellent healer. No wonder I'm so fucking good at being a healer. I have a lot of traumatic imprints that make me very good at what I do. However, at some point, you have to learn to love yourself first. And it's all a process. There's nothing of my past I would change at all. Nothing. What I got to experience in these last few months, I wish for every single soul to experience what it feels like to be empty. And this was the first time in my life that I was emptied and my ego didn't fight it. Because I was in such a big, because I was playing out these traumatic imprints, it was really fucking hard. And when you're playing out these traumatic imprints, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering. And so I needed the contrast of such pain to know what it feels like to be out of balance. And so in these last several months, I have been focusing on somatic trauma healing, working with a somatic therapist that's just specifically on the somatics. And this has been a game changer in all of what I have learned in my development. It's like I wish that I started here, because I was operating so much into the esoterics, and I love shamanism, I love being in the field, I love going into the ethers and going into alternate dimensions, and yet doing that I kept not paying attention to my body, which is where all the trauma is. And that doesn't say I wasn't doing that 100%, but I was trying to resolve things in a different way when my body was screaming to me. And I just looked at the science of the body, because the body is the one that keeps the score. And I've been doing somatic works over the years. However, this time I just took out all of the spiritual language and got really grounded and really simple, because I've done so many different healing modalities over the years that at that point I was just like, I don't even know what to do anymore. I felt like I had too many tools, too many things that I had learned, too many ways to heal. And I just felt like I couldn't. I was so overwhelmed with knowledge, wisdom, information. And so I found myself one mentor, I found myself one coach, and I got rid of everybody else just to have one piece of information. I said, I need simple, grounded, easy, basic somatic healing. And it has been life-changing. Life-changing. Because also in this process, as I surrendered, I started to become aware of the spiritual ego. And it was discombobulating, but not in a scary way. Because I had started to actually sit in presence, to actually be versus do. Because the ego is the one that tries to control it, tries to manipulate it, wants to grab on and cling on to labels and say, I am this, I am that. And so as I was going through this process and actually learning and being and becoming still and witnessing my ego, I got to witness my transformation from the inside out. And because I had done the thing that my soul needed, there was so much trust inside of my body. There was so much safety inside of my body that when the ego was breaking down and it was starting to dismantle the masks of the spiritual ego, the performer, the perfectionist, the people pleaser, because I trained myself more, and I'm still getting better at this. I still sit in that presence, and like that is the game of life, is learning to be in that presence. Not even learning it, because that is still a very doing thing. It's something you can't navigate with the mind. It's something that can only become through being, through presence. And it comes from being present in the body. And so as I got my ass on this floor, in this room, sitting, doing nothing, looking at my plants, being with myself, witnessing what was happening in here, and I just became a witnesser to the ego, I watched my whole spiritual ego start to break down. And in witnessing the spiritual ego break down, it started to judge the old me and the old ways in which I used to do things and anything that was in it. So if I heard someone talking about the esoterics, my ego would judge it, because now it was like, oh, now I see the performer. I'm starting to see the performer. I'm starting to see the spiritual performance in the world. I'm starting to feel and discern what's true and what's not true. And so in the witnessing of the ego, I started to see, now I get why people go from New Age to Christianity and Christianity to New Age. This is the process. And so I saw that my ego was like, oh, a savior over here? Yeah, that sounds pretty damn good. Look at everything I've done and I'm a fucking mess. Maybe if someone saves me, then it will help me get rid of all of this shame that I have. Because I've done all this work. Why am I not fully healed? Why am I not fully fixed? All the classic stories of personal development. Yes, I go there too. The endless cycle of development. That's another thing I'll get into at some point. But my ego started to see, okay. So instead of judging my ego or judging myself that I was having these judgments, I would just become aware of them. I would just see them. And then I started to feel detached from who I was. And I started to feel detached from my identity. And so my identity as a healer, as a coach, as a mentor, all of this started to fall away. Even my identity as Kelsey Grace Hall, it is by far one of the wildest sensations right now because I don't know to call myself whether Kelsey, call myself Grace, call myself Kelsey Grace. Like there's not an attachment to either of those names. And so like I was going by Grace and it's a mind fuck. Not gonna lie, it's a mind fuck. So I'm just like, I'm Kelsey Grace Hall. Because I got to sit in my awareness and watch the identities break down. The New Age versions of myself, and it was very weird feeling. And because I had created and found that space of presence and safety within myself and God, it was the deepest level of surrender, of allowing myself to go through this process that I've ever been in. And it was so freeing because I started to feel very detached from identity, from the world that I was in, from what's happening in my life. And as I started to detach, things started to happen. Life, like God started pouring this love into me, started to help me remember. And one of the biggest things that I remembered that I didn't realize that I was holding on to was unconditional love. I didn't realize that over these years, I felt that my contribution to the world is what made me worthy. It's like if I can give to the world and serve God, and in my service to God, in my service to others, that's what's going to make me more lovable, and that's what's going to make me receive. And so all these years I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work. I've invested over $200,000 freaking dollars and more than that. I've done so much fucking healing work. Again, doing. I've done all the right things. Why am I still not enough to receive God's love? And if I'm so attached to my business, and that my business is my source of value and worthiness, and that is what's leaking underneath, then of course I'm not going to really receive, because I'm still holding on to the thing that I think is making me love. So that's one of the big traumatic imprints that was playing out. Let me hold everybody else. Let me give to everybody else. But then there's no one to hold me. And then that created a whole reality of isolation. And that meant isolation from money, people, community. And it has been a rough few years, y'all. And I'm just now seeing this. So God, source, my soul was like, you need to get rid of it. You need to let it all go so that you can stop doing and stop producing and stop giving and stop holding other people, so that I can actually hold you and your body, your soul, your being, your human can remember that you are loved without condition. So I got emptied of all of the places in my life, from the people, from the clients, from the business, from the identity, from social media, from everywhere that I was giving. And even shortly afterwards, I wanted to go on a mission trip to Africa. And my mentor was like, are you sure you're just not trying to save the children in Africa because it's a mission-driven trip? Here you are still playing out the rescue. I was like, fuck. It's crazy how this shit runs out. I was like, can I just be for a while without trying to do anything? It's like, wow, just the need to immediately try to go into something new, jump to the next thing, because I think that's going to bring the freedom and the fulfillment and the enoughness. And so I allowed myself to just let it all go. And in that process, I learned what it felt like to be unconditionally loved by the divine, by God. And I was like, oh, I don't have to do anything to be loved. I don't have to do anything to receive love. Love is not conditional. And then my body started to remember that. As I stopped holding other people. As I stopped creating something to feel worthy of God's love. And I started to experience love for myself in a way that I've never felt before. I started to love myself for just existing, for just being. So now I spend my mornings just being, sitting, doing nothing, sitting in the space of no thing so that I can be emptied of who I've been, so that who I really am can come through. Because if you've been who you've been, there's no room for who you are. And that led me to be within the great I am. Because I got to clear the identities of who I was. That was getting in the way of my true embodiment. That was getting in the way of knowing that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. And so that statement became my daily prayer. It still is. Just sitting within that awareness of presence, remembering who I am from this loving awareness. And as I continue to sit within that presence of I am this loving awareness, I see the games of my ego. I see the games of the mind. I see the constructs of the conditioning. It doesn't mean that it's easy. It takes really being able to take a step back. Like today, I was in it deep. Today, I felt a lot of grief today. I felt the most grief that I've had around my past life ever in the last few months today. It was like I finally felt it. Realizing that, oh, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not gonna be creating that. And so I got to allow myself to feel that grief. I got to allow myself to feel, again, the part of me that was putting my worth in creating something. It's like, oh, that part of me still does that. Okay, let me grieve that feeling. Another part of the identity dying. So it was so beautiful because I was in such grief today. I was in like a deep cry for quite a while today. But then I felt my heart and my soul say, please share. Please go live. Whether someone sees this, someone doesn't. It's more about honoring the truth that really wants to be spoken right now. And that's what's most important. It's just honoring the truth. And whoever finds this, finds this. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But I'm doing this to honor the truth of what wants to be expressed through this voice, through this frequency, through this vessel. Because this is what has led me, and there's so many deeper components to everything that I'm here to share about this journey. I mean, it has been so profound, so expansive, beyond my wildest comprehension. I wish for everybody to experience this level of surrender. I wish for everybody to experience this level of emptiness, to truly remember who they are, to who we are at our core essence. And yeah, it takes work. It does. And when I say it takes work, it just takes presence. Daily presence, consistent presence. Being able to sit with what you see, feel, hear within yourself, and holding space for yourself. And as you hold space for yourself, then you start to remember that true essence of your soul. And then, like now, meditating is my favorite thing in the world because I just want to keep bringing myself back to that moment because it is everything. It's the present, it's the now, it's God, it's unity with God. As I've been in this surrender, I've been in this unknowing who I am, unknowing where I'm going, unknowing of what God has for me. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where I'm going, what I'm going to create. I don't know if I'm going to go back into coaching or healing. I don't know. Right now, I'm working a part-time in a yoga studio, looking for jobs. I'm like, okay. And the grief was because my old identity did not align with getting a job. But your girl gotta do what you gotta do, right? I'm still deep in this process right now, while still being human. Still being human. Still magical as fuck. And so what's been really interesting as I've been, like I shared, learning and experiencing unconditional love is that in this process, Yeshua has been coming to me in so many different shapes and sizes and different people and different ways by the Chosen that totally just cracked my heart open earlier this year. That was the first opening of me letting Yeshua into my heart and starting to heal the religious wounds that I had. And all of the places where religion has distorted the truth, and me actually realizing what the truth is and feeling that truth in my body, that has been so profound. Yeshua has come to me through different people, through someone gifting me earrings that are diamond cross earrings, and I'm like, yo, what? I am not, I don't follow any particular religion. In my belief, I feel and see that religion is just another thread of separation. And even the identity as I am a Christian is still another label that separates us. And so as I've been in this process of surrendering my own ego and my own identities and allowing myself to truly sit and rest inside of this no thing space where there's no Kelsey Grace, there's no identity, there's no coach healer, there's no labels. I've been just like in this grand space as I watch the ego, like, oh, let me try to identify with that. It's like, no, we're still gonna rest here. It's gonna be good. We're gonna allow ourselves just to be in this space of not attaching to anything. And as I've been in that space, it's been so expansive. And so as I've been remembering through unconditional love, aka Yeshua has been coming to me, mentoring me in different ways, speaking to me. I mean, I really did not, going to church was never a thing. I didn't resonate with it, but I went to church for the first time 2 weeks ago, and my whole body was tingling inside. And I started to remember why Yeshua was bringing me into the Christian space. And it was so that I could heal the places and the sharp edges where I still held judgment to Christianity, because I grew up Catholic. And if I truly want to embody unconditional love, then I need to go to the places and heal my heart where those places still hurt. So I had the most beautiful, wholesome, peaceful, loving experience going to church. I met these beautiful souls that they're Christians, and they are the nicest, soulful people I have ever met. So kind, so loving, so inviting. They called me in and invited me in, and I just felt so safe. And I felt like it was okay for me to have the past that I did, and that I am accepted as who I am. And it was very healing. And that was really wholesome, and I really needed that. I really needed that. And so these beautiful ladies, these women, these souls, these men have just opened my eyes to something so beautiful. And truly, Yeshua's way is to love all. To love all and to bring unity, and his whole thing is unconditional love. And so now I've been able to be in the New Age and now into the Christian space and be able to hold all of it. Not identifying as one or the other, because I don't identify as either of them. But I'm able to be with all of them and still remain sovereign in my great I am. And this has been deepening my heart and soul into a level of peace that I didn't know existed. Peace to be fully as I am, unconditional loving of all, because those were like the two main spaces that were in my reality that I've been seeing. And so now, it's just such relief and safety in my body, where I'm not projecting, I'm not judging. I'm able to be in all of the spaces and be the bridge between both of them. And it was funny enough, because after I went to church, I went to a Christian church, it was so amazing. The Holy Spirit was in that room, and I was crying most of the time, and the music was just in my heart, in my chest, and I was just overflowed because overloaded with the energy of love that was in the room. And of course, I was with people that were so passionate and singing and praising. It was just like, it was so incredible. And it opened my heart and opened my eyes. And I was like, why do people believe this? Like, show me, like, what does it mean Jesus saved you? I want to know. Like, I want to know what that means. And so it's opening my heart and my mind to other possibilities, and it's opening my heart and mind to also Christ consciousness. Yeshua is Christ consciousness. And so I realized that I've been in this process of unconditionally loving myself, and Yeshua, Christ consciousness, this love has been trying to reach me. And I can't deny this feeling and this desire to know Yeshua, to feel what that is, and this curiosity about the Christian religion, while still remaining sovereign in my own being, knowing my past, knowing everything. None of that is right or wrong. But I have this hunger and this desire to know love, to know Yeshua, the true Yeshua, not the colonialized version of Jesus, but the one that really is the heart of unconditional love. And so I could feel that presence, that being just wants me to learn how to love like Yeshua. And so in order for me to do that, it has to bring me into the places that I don't want to go. Then I'm just sitting with what I just said, because that just clicked in my mind with something else that I've been resisting, that I don't love. So, just as much as this is for you, it is for me. So, and to that, like I said, that night after I went to church, I mean, I was so full, so much peace, so grateful, like just overflowing in my heart and soul. That night I had a dream, and it was very clear. Create God Winks podcast. I woke up, God Winks podcast. Okay? And then my ego came in and was like, change this, change that, change the title. Make it like less, don't use the word God, because some people get triggered by the word God. Don't use God Winks. There's already a book called God's Winks. And I was like, all these thoughts. And it's like, oh man, I'm going to talk about New Age and Christianity. People are so judgmental about both of them. And here I am, I'm going to hold both of them. So I had to work through all of my own judgments of the fear about being judged, the fear of being rejected, the fear of upsetting somebody, the fear that my Christian friends are not going to like me, my fear that my old New Age friends are not going to like me. I already got judged by one of my friends when I told her I went to church. I was like, you don't get it. And so I'm willing to be misunderstood. I'm willing to speak my truth anyways. Because this is what is the truth. Is that this podcast, what I'm sharing here, what I'm starting here, is not about me. God Winks is a creation that God wants to create through me. So the more that I can sit within that presence of being, of creation, and just allow creation to move through me without my ego getting in the way, without my human and my imprints and my traumas getting in the way, then this is all God's work. All God's work. And I'm seeing, feeling, and experiencing that in such a beautiful, profound way. Because I have allowed myself to sit within the space of no thing, and I've allowed myself to be a witnesser. I've allowed myself to sit in the void of emptiness and empty myself of my identities, I'm able to really access a frequency of presence that is the creation frequency, aka God, aka love, aka essence. And so the more I bring myself to that presence and I bring myself to that space, and I become a witnesser of my mind, and I become a witnesser of my traumas, and I become a witnesser of these things, and I don't act out of them, but I witness them and I see them and I just become aware of them, then I heal. Because I'm in the presence of loving awareness. I'm in the presence of creation that created me, that is more powerful than any trauma, that is more powerful than any thought, that is more powerful than any pain, because that is the presence of the miracle frequency. This is when magic can happen. And that's when we start to transcend into the true essence of our being. So this is where I am melting deeper into. And it has been profound and magical. I was going to say miracle, magic together, miraculous. It has been fun and beautiful, wild and free, and challenging all at the same time, because I've had to face a lot of things all at the same time. I've had to feel a lot of emotions. I've had to let go of a lot of things. But letting go and being detached is one of the greatest and most liberating feelings, when we allow ourselves to know that there's something greater on the other side. And when we trust fall into the unknown is when we become unified with God. So thank you. 46 minutes at this point. This is just the beginning. I can't wait to share more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for getting all the way here with me. Thank you for going on a journey. I hope that there was many things for you inside of this. And I'm excited to continue to share through God Winks, through this platform, and share my heart with the world, with you. And hoping that through my trials and my failures and my errors and through my life, that you know that you are not alone. And together we get to walk each other home. I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, your evening. And until next time. Mwah!